Welcome to the Bold and Brave Collective. I'm Faye Lynne, your host, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my incredible friend, Simone W. Johnson-Smith. Hello, Simone.
Hi, Faye. Thanks for having me. Such a pleasure to join you.
Oh my goodness, the pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine. I am going to set the stage for you because once people hear about you, they're going to see why I chose someone like you to be on the Bold and Brave Collective. It's just amazing. As I was learning more about you, I was just incredibly encouraged by your boldness and your bravery. So here's a little short synopsis about Simone. Simone is a global voice and cultural bridge builder. With over 2 decades of experience navigating immigration systems and international transitions, Simone brings a deep understanding to the immigrant journey. A former U.S. diplomat turned author, certified coach, and podcast host, and the visionary behind the Immigrant Experience in America podcast and the Bridge Concepts. Her mission is to help third culture persons and immigrants not only adjust, but thrive, embracing their identity while bridging the gap between cultures. Simone draws from both her personal experience and her professional expertise to empower others to tell their stories, embrace their purpose, and become confident cross-cultural leaders. She is passionate, purpose-driven, and boldly committed to helping others flourish as global citizens with local impact. Wow. That's all I can say. You're a busy lady, aren't you?
Oh, thank you, Faye. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Heartfelt.
Well, this is my life years later, getting up one day at a time, taking another step. I'm humbled and grateful for the journey. It
Beautiful.
definitely has not been easy. We've had challenges and great
Mm-hmm.
moments, which is typical of our lives, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It really is. And I know that sometimes there's like a certain thing that happens in people's lives, like the pivot point, the spark that gets you going. Is there something in your life that just got you to the starting point of this adventure?
Ah, I think it's moving to the US. When I
Yeah.
was overseas, I had no necessarily perception or vision of what life I would have been going on, right? My
Hmm. Hmm.
parents, all of us packed up, we moved to the US.
Wow.
And I had no idea what it was in store for me. I was just this bright-eyed young girl who just wanted to study and learn about the US. When you're overseas and you see things on TV and you watch movies, you just develop this whole perception of what life is like abroad. And
Right,
so
right.
once you're finally here, you're all excited and ready to just delve right in. But then,
Mm.
reality hits and you have to figure it out. And here we are, decades later. But I think everything started with me moving from Jamaica to the United States. And
How old were you at that time, Simone? How old were you?
I was just out of high school.
Oh, wow, young.
Yes,
Hmm.
just out of high
Hmm.
school.
Wow.
Yes, oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
I don't want
just a,
to I don't
just a
want to
couple of years ago.
just a couple years ago, I don't want to tell anybody my age, so I'm
Yeah.
not gonna give you any more information.
Okay, well, that's fantastic, and that is like the starting point for things. Now, what do you find was your biggest obstacle along the way as you started this journey of trying to like empower other people?
Wow. Well, for me, interestingly, after coming to the US, right, it
Hmm. Hmm.
was finding myself in a new country, knowing very little about the culture. I thought I knew a
Yeah,
lot from watching movies and TV, but
right.
once you get on the ground and you're going through everyday activities,
Hmm.
meeting different types of people, influenced by different kinds of culture,
Right.
you just realize, my gosh, this is quite a complex society, right? And
Hmm.
so that was part of the biggest challenge for me was to really decode what life is about in the United States, whether it's the workplace, social scenes, building relationship, finding your belonging, your space where
Hmm.
you just feel like you could just take, let your hair down, as they say,
Right. Yeah, be
and just
yourself.
you don't have to code switch or even change or put on a fake face or any sort of
Hmm.
face,
Right.
right? But
Right.
that was like part of my biggest journey. And that's why we're here with
Wow.
the podcast and the book and really just talking about my journey decoding life abroad, basically.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that book, or tell us, I guess, about that book?
So it's called Decoding America, the Immigrant Experience, and it involves just my personal journeys of like my early days, working
Hmm.
at Kmart as just, just excited to be officially not at home with my
Yeah.
family. I grew up in a large family with lots of cousins, and everything was
Mhm.
all grew up on a farm with like lots of cows,
Oh,
goats, chickens, we had a donkey, all of that. So life on the countryside is completely different from being in the big city or being in a big country like the United States. So
yes.
so for me, sharing about coming to the US, struggling with going from British English to American English, like those little things, trying to
Yes.
decode what it means when people say certain phrases that mean different things depending on where you are in the United States and who's using it,
Right.
as well as just building friendships because I left all of my friends back
Wow.
home and I had to
Wow.
start from scratch again. And so,
Mm.
I tell all the journey of work, working in the US, going to
Mhm.
school, getting all my credentials to move on to university,
Mhm.
working abroad, and the challenges of like living in the Washington D.C. area, for example, and how
Yes.
international it is, right?
Mhm.
So this book is really just encouraging, providing inspiration for other first generation immigrants and as well as second generation immigrants who we
Right.
call first generation Americans, children of immigrant parents, as they go through the transformation of becoming a hybrid of the birth country and the adopted country and are known as third culture people. So that is just my encouragement to people that we know the journey is hard,
Mhm.
but it is your superpower.
Yeah.
Embrace your superpower and learn to use it to help bridge cultures across the
Right.
globe because we live in such a global world these days.
Oh, definitely. And I was noticing that by listening to some of your podcasts of just how confident people have become when they grip that, yes, I come to terms with the fact that it is a big adjustment, but I can still, yes, use it as a superpower and go forward. That's what I was loving. I've learned so much. Actually, I was humbled by thinking about what you're doing because I know so many people that are immigrants, and I never really looked at that aspect of it of how the difficult it must have been when they came, even to where I am in Canada. That there's many immigrants, and I never really thought about it so deeply as when I started to read your book and listen to your podcast. So thank you for the awareness that you're bringing to people as well.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for buying
Hmm.
the book and supporting. I
Yeah.
didn't know you bought it, so I
Yes.
appreciate
Oh
it.
yes. 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 Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate that. So,
Hmm.
yes, it started off as an idea, and here we are 3 years later, 180 episodes of podcasts and stories,
Beautiful.
and
Beautiful.
developing in other things. I'm grateful for where God has taken us so far.
And that's it, right? For the opportunities that we have and for grabbing onto that. So if there are people that you meet and they seem very hesitant to take that first bold step in their life, is there like a word of encouragement that you give people just to help them break down those walls to take that first step?
First step of what? Starting a podcast, writing the book, or
I
just
would
integrating abroad? What
I would
perspective?
I'd say I would say migrating abroad. Migrating abroad. Like just the how do you help someone to hang on to that identity? It seems to me like you would when you're just put in a pot of another culture, it's very difficult if you're the smaller ingredient in that pot. So how do you just bring yourself out to be able to hang on to that ingredient that you are, but add on to it by what's around you? Like how did you even come to balance something like
Well, for me, it was a journey of losing myself and then realizing that I had lost my confidence as that high school, bright eyed, ready to take on
that?
the world young lady. And over
Yes.
time, things wearing me down, taking on
Mhm.
labels from people, not even not even knowing who I had become after a few years. And so for me, I had to like stop, take a step back, go
Mhm.
deep within myself, did a lot of research, asked a lot of questions, sought out coaching to really find myself. And on the journey to finding myself again, there was no way for me to deny where I come from and what I bring
Nice.
to the table from then. That's part of my life. And so I had to just
Hmm.
basically acknowledge this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. These are my life experiences. And so
Wow.
this is what I have in my toolbox. This is what I
Yes.
have in my spice cabinet, if you will. And I
Right.
start there. And then the experiences that I've learned or had in the United States are additional too. And I've changed,
Yeah.
I've transformed into something else because I tell you, I no longer really fit into Jamaica as that girl
That's
that
what
left.
I was thinking of that as well. Yes.
No, I don't really fit in when
Yeah.
I get off. People are like, "Okay, don't say anything. You don't sound the same." The prices go through the roof. They're like, "We'll negotiate the price for you."
Yes.
Um, we'll drive you here, like, we're not gonna let you go this part of town or whatever. And so you kind of feel like, you've lost a part of you.
Yeah.
I used to just flow with the culture. And
Yes.
when you're born into a culture in a country, from birth,
Hmm.
you really just learn and you become part of that. And so once you're out of it, you're changing towards the environment that you're now living in. And so I've become to people on the island, I'm very American. To
Yeah.
native people who are from the United States or from other Western country, they might say, "Well, no, you're not quite that American." And
Yeah.
so I don't really fit into either of them. So for those of us who are on that journey, we're third culture people. We've now developed a bit of the old and the new, and so it's completely a new culture that we've formed and bring to the table. And
That's
I encourage
beautiful.
people to embrace that. It is a superpower.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm almost jealous of the opportunity because I didn't realize that opportunity was even there. It feels like I never really focused. It sort of feels as though maybe I should have been more aware and taught on my side. Like taught, I don't know if it would be school or training or something, just how to embrace that from the people that are around me that aren't from my country and that the things that they want to hang on to. Because I feel more, from my experience anyway, it's more like come to our country and change your ways to become what we are, which is so unfair. But I feel like that's the way it is around, at least where I'm from. Do you ever feel like that, that it was like that in your
Well,
area?
definitely, definitely. There's
Yeah.
a dominant culture, of course. And
Yeah.
of course, when you travel to any new place, there is a dominant culture in any country. And so you're not necessarily, in order to survive and thrive, you do have to adapt.
Right.
Whether it is learning English, you could come from a French speaking
Yes.
place and don't speak English. You need to learn English in order to survive and communicate with people. You need
Right.
to adjust the way you eat because the foods that you once ate are no longer
Oh,
available. So you have to
yeah.
really, make good of what's
Hmm.
available. So you are changing. The
Yes.
idea is not that you're not going to change.
Hmm.
Some people call that assimilation. Some people choose
Yeah.
full assimilation. Some people choose what we call accommodation or integration of the old and the new. But think
Yes.
about it. If you go to, say, like an African country or
Hmm.
somewhere in the Caribbean and you've moved your life there, how is it you can't forget and leave who Faye Lynne is
Right.
at
Right.
this point in your
That's
how do
always
you
who you
even
are.
that's always who you are. Your life experiences, what you were taught from you were a baby. It's
Right.
part of who you are. You don't just throw the
Yes.
baby out with the
Yes.
bathwater, as they say,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
start and just suddenly become a new person. It will always influence the way you think, the way you interact with people, the way you see the world. And so it makes sense to just embrace all of it.
That's
And so that's my
beautiful.
encouragement to people because you can't deny half of your world and half of who you are and expect to show up fully,
Yeah.
authentically who you are. I
Wow.
mean, I know it's difficult and challenging in some spaces.
Hmm.
However, in order for you to fully flourish and thrive, I'm encouraging people just recognize who you are, embrace all of it, and then you'll find that people see you fully as who you are. Because when we're hiding pieces of ourselves from the world, people can see the fakeness in that, right? And
Wow. And
sometimes
yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. That goes for everyone. you know?
We can see
Yeah.
that when
Right.
you're holding
Right.
back or you're trying to be
Yes.
something that you're not quite.
Yes. Mhm.
Some people try to fully assimilate, and I understand sometimes they just want to fit in. They
Yes.
just want to just be a part of this new community, and they don't want to always stick out like a sore thumb. They just
Right.
want to
Right.
assimilate. But for me, I don't know how to throw out who I am from my life before. So I just
Right.
have to integrate it into this new person. And so that's my
That's
encouragement to people is just embrace fully who you are. And then you have the power to
Mhm.
decide which parts of the culture are the which parts of the former world that you don't necessarily like as you've matured and become this new person. You decide which parts of it you leave behind, which parts of the tradition you leave behind, and which
Mhm.
parts of the new world you now integrate into your new life. Because
Exactly.
trust
It's a
me,
choice.
I don't like everything that's American and I don't like everything that's Jamaican
Yeah.
either, but I get to decide which parts become a part of the new version of
Who
Simone.
you are. Yes, yes. Now, do
Exactly.
you think that I was just thinking as you're speaking, do you think it the age that you are while you're doing it makes a difference? Like what if you would have come when you were 3? Or I see some people coming when they're grandparents and how do they assimilate between do you think that age has something to do with it? Cuz I'm just thinking about
Yeah, I think so. I think it does. I think the older you come, you're
Mhm.
more set in your personality and probably will change less. Like my
Yeah.
parents, my dad,
Yeah, okay, yes, yeah.
brothers, and my aunts and uncles who came
Mhm.
later in life.
Mhm.
When you hear them speak, their accent is as if they never left. It's
Yeah,
as if they
that's cool.
never left. But I have a different sound because I've studied Spanish, I've studied French, I've traveled internationally. I've been in different spaces where I've had
Mhm.
to assimilate or take on certain sounds so people at times it was just my own immature way of just understanding or trying to assimilate. There were
Right.
times when I would speak, and because my accent was so thick, people would constantly ask me to repeat myself. And so, after
Yes.
over time, I think mentally in my brain, just start picking up bits and pieces of how to just sound clearer for people to just get me the first time. And so,
So
there's
just to
nothing wrong with
communicate.
that.
Yes. Right,
Exactly, there's
right,
nothing wrong with that. It's just
right.
human transformation when you're in a
Yes.
new environment. And so for I think people who are older, they tend to just hang around their same friends
Oh, that's
in
true too. Yeah.
in their enclaves, unless they're really thrust in an environment where they need to really change and that causes them to transform. For younger people, I think because we have to go to school,
Mhm.
we're at work and different settings, eventually some sort of transformation does happen. But yeah, I
Right,
think there is a
right.
difference when you
That's what I
migrate
was
at different
wondering. I was just
ages.
thinking that and I think sometimes I've noticed with the people around my community is the older people really feel almost um a deeper obligation to hang on to those things just because if they've 70 years been living a certain way, they feel like, why am I going to change now? Which I really like when they keep that culture because then when you go to their home, it's all wrapped around that culture that they have. And I think that's a beautiful thing as well for them to take for their family, right? I guess I want to ask you about how do you stay bold? So we're talking about being bold and brave. So I'm sure that there are times where you're seeing things going on around you that could give you even a little bit of fear or hold you back a little bit. How do you keep yourself bold and brave during those times? Uh-huh.
I get on my knees.
Ooh,
I
there
mean,
you
that's
go.
the truth. I mean, when
There you
life
go.
comes at you, um, I'm telling you, yeah, I'm tearing up a little bit, but when life really gets challenging for you
Yes. Yes.
and your back's against the wall,
Mhm.
no parent, no partner,
That's
whatever
right.
your higher power is, I get on my knees. And usually after I release all of that
Mhm.
and I continue learning, I read a lot. I
Do you?
listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of influential people and I
Good.
listen to their journeys and
Good.
I take from them and I try to just get up every time I fall and keep moving one foot in front of the other. And so I don't think it'll be interesting, bold and brave. It's a choice every day.
Yeah.
but I think I want to just be authentically who I am, who I was
Yes.
created to be.
Yes.
And as some people say, sometimes there's a saying out there that we actually forget who we are. And I think the more authentic we grow into who we really are, we start remembering who we are because we forgot.
Hmm.
And so
Very
for
good.
me, it's really just going deeper inside of my life, inside of my journey, my personal journey, and just always being open to learn when things hit you down. What are the lessons that are
Right.
here? And the
Beautiful.
more I peel off the onion and just look at me, and show up authentically as myself, people might look at it and call it bold and brave, but listen, it's a daily journey
Yeah.
of of
Yeah.
prayer, of reading, of growing yourself, of making a decision to just keep moving every time you get knocked down.
Good for you. Wow, that's very encouraging, and that's got a depth of maturity that it's thinking we can't do everything ourselves. We do need to reach out. Like you're saying, you hit your knees. I do too. We have to reach out for something. We have to and let things go. A lot of times I feel that weight of holding on to those things and not letting them go holds us back as well. And like you just said, you let it go and then learn things. And that's what I'm hoping that our audience does is listens to what you're saying and listens. I'm going to have all the links to your podcast and your book and everything in the notes because I really feel like you have a lot to offer. I mean, I have learned so much in that little bit of time that I've spoken to you and in the little bit of research that I've been doing. And I thought, wow, this is like powder keg. This can blow up and help so many people. So I really do wish you the best with everything. And before we wrap things up, I was just wondering if there's anything else that you wanted to say that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that you get out there because I know that you might have one little piece of wisdom that you might have wanted to share.
You know, our passion project continues to grow every day. We're in the
Okay.
midst of launching, in addition to the podcast and the book, our coaching and a course to help people,
Oh,
from
nice.
whatever place they are around the world and whatever segment of the journey they find themselves.
Nice.
There's a statistic out there that talks about how culture shock affects people, and it says that it ranges from mild depression to fatal self harm. There are some people, whether they're refugees, immigrants, some people refer to themselves as expats. Sometimes the
Oh,
change that happens, the cultural adjustment that happens in a foreign country is so severe that people actually fatally harm themselves. And so we are here to provide that support to you wherever you are around the world. Um, Everything is not about money, and I'm just hoping that the
mhm.
stories that we share through the podcast, the stories we've shared through the book, and the coaching and course that we're providing will help people find hope and inspiration
Wow.
to um, to choose life another day.
Yeah.
And we know that the pressure of having a family and community depend on you when you're the one who
Yeah.
have left. There's a lot of people who invest a lot of money in sending people like international professionals or for students who
Right.
come to study, invest a lot of money into those people going abroad. And
Mhm.
the pressure can be like
Wow, I can't imagine.
sometimes like,
Yeah,
unimaginable.
that's
And
heavy.
so we know that people are walking and carrying a lot of weight. And so we're
Mhm.
just here trying to build a community of support for those people who consider themselves third culture people who find themselves in the in-between world of cultures. And
Wow.
just hang in there.
Wow. I'm
We're
so
here. Our stories are here. We're here to connect you with information and with people who might be able to provide you some support wherever you find yourself around the world.
wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for doing that. That takes a lot. It takes a lot. So we'll make sure if there's anyone that would like to get a hold of you, that all the information will be there for you. And I just want to ask you like a little funny question on our way out before we close this up. If you could have a theme song play every time you walked into the room, what would it be and why? That's going to make you think. A theme song play every time you walk into the room. What would you think would be a good theme song for Simone?
There is a song actually that I post
Okay.
on my um when I sent off copy of my book when it was officially
Yes.
published over the Christmas season last year, there's a song out there that's called God, I'm Still Counting My Blessings. And
Oh, nice.
you probably know it. Let me look it up and tell you the guy.
Okay.
Um,
I think I
God,
can hear the tune in my head.
I'm still counting my blessings. His name is Seth Sluter. I hope I say that right.
Okay. Okay.
And here I'll just click it really.
Yeah.
Like it was
Oh,
yesterday, I was praying for a miracle, scared of how little hope. But now looking back today, all the things you've done,
beautiful.
I can't even add them up. 1, 2, 3, up to another time. For all the
Wow.
things for it.
Wow. That brings tears to my eyes. Wow. Thanks for making me cry. Wow, that's beautiful. That is beautiful song. Wow. And really, we do have to count our blessings. And you are one of the blessings that I count. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everyone. We're going to leave on a crying note today. Thank you, viewers, for listening. You'll get all the information you need to get a hold of Simone. Once again, stay bold and brave and stay strong until the next time we meet. I'm Faye Lynne. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us on the Bold and Brave Collective. Simone W. Johnson Smith's inspiring journey from a young immigrant navigating a new culture to becoming a global voice and a cultural bridge builder is a powerful testament to resilience and authenticity. To connect with Simone and explore her podcast, book, and mission to empower third culture persons, visit the links in the description below. If her story moved you, subscribe for more conversations with women who embrace their superpower with boldness. Share this episode to inspire others, and until next time, stay bold and brave.